Check, check, check. All right, how do we get shadows on translucent video footage in Unreal? Let's check it out. So somewhere here I have the image media sequence, right? That I already set up for my EXR footage. This is nothing new. This is what we've done before. I'm not doing anything special right yet. Let's make this window a little bit bigger. Open this up. Lovely, right? But no shadow. The reason that it doesn't have the shadow is because, like I said, the material that is being used to create this graphic on this media plate, if I just scroll down in the media plate, I can see the material right here. If I double click it, this is actually a child material of what's called a master material or a parent material. So I don't actually see all the nodes and stuff. If I click into this one, then I see all the nodes and stuff. And this is what I'm talking about. In Unreal, we have two ways to cut things out. Opacity is for translucency, stained glass windows that we can actually see through, or any windows, right? Opacity mask is more of a harsh edge cutout, like you saw in the fur of that cat. Opacity mask is much computationally cheaper than having true translucency. So there's two different use cases for them. Opacity mask easily casts a shadow. Opacity doesn't easily cast a shadow. You can have it cast a shadow, but it's not worth showing you how to do that in this instance. Perhaps you can look into it on your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two instances of this video using two different materials. One of the materials is going to look like this, using opacity. The other material is not going to use opacity, it's going to use opacity mask. You smack them on top of each other, nobody knows. It's beautiful. So the way that you activate the opacity mask, it's over, lost my mouse. Where is my mouse? The way that we activate that is by changing the blend mode from translucent to masked. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm not ready, but that's how we activate opacity versus opacity mask. Okay. So there's a couple different places that you could do this. Unfortunately, using the media plate as we know it doesn't play that nice, like the actual dragging in of the media plate. So I'm going to show you the old way of doing this. I knew we were going to run into this problem. I'm going to show you the old way of making a media texture and a media plate. All right, so if I go into the content browser and go to add, and I go down to media, and I go to media player, we're going to essentially make our own media plate. It's going to ask me, do you want to create a media texture with this media player? Yes, check that box. It's going to create two assets down here. One is texture and one is the media player. In the new fancy media plate thing, all this stuff is happening under the hood, so you don't really see all this. If I open the media player, I have my image media source file that we already created. That's what links the EXR files. It's the same thing. Still plays. It's all good. All that's good. Nothing new there. The only difference is that now I have these two things here. My interest is in the texture. In order to put that texture on something in the environment, I need to create a material from it, right? So I'm going to right click on it and create material. Thing about media players is they don't automatically play either, which is kind of annoying. There we go. So this one is going to be my opacity mask. So I'm going to drag the alpha to opacity mask. And I'm going to set the blend mode over here from opaque to masked. And I should get that really chunky cutout. Yeah, chunky up there. Now, I'm going to add, I could just add a plane to my environment and line it up. I guess that would work. But I'm going to actually add a plane to my existing image plate that I dragged in. So I have the original media plate that has the good-looking one without the shadow. In order to keep these aligned, I think we briefly talked about this, or this is kind of basic Unreal stuff. You can add, there's an add button here too. So I can add other components to existing actors. So I'm going to put a plane inside of this media plate, if that makes sense. Anywhere that the media plate goes, the new plane is going to come along for the ride, right? It's a child of it. So I'm going to click the green add button, click plane, I'll rotate it. Oops, I guess I'm renaming it. Oops. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to bump it back a little bit. And I'm going to put that new material that I made on it. Whoop. Need to rotate it. It could literally be right on top of it too, which makes sense for shadows. But now I have to get rid of the bad looking one. Actually, you know what just happened? It made both of them bad. Uh-oh. Let's see if we can fix that. Actually, you know what? Let's just make two of them. So I'm gonna make another. I'm gonna duplicate this one and then just change opacity mask to opacity. What do I call this? Shanti is the name of the cat. I'll call this Shanti Pretty, and I'll call the other one Shanti Masked, I suppose. Shanti Masked. Let's go into the pretty one. Switch that back. Change it from masked to translucent. Save it. Now this material accidentally got changed. So there's two things here. The static mesh component is the original plane in the media plate. I'm going to change this material. I just drag the material onto the good one. Notice it got dark. That's because I forgot to make this material unlit. Remember, unlit materials, I suggest you make your videos unlit so they're not lit by lights in your environment. You want to control the lighting on set when you shoot the video footage or in post-production. So I always make this unlit. By getting rid of base color. Connecting base color, or connecting RGB to emissive color. And I got to go over here and change this from default lit to unlit. This just will get rid of the darkness. Now it should be bright again. So now a pretty one and one that's casting the shadow. So how do I get rid of the one that is casting the shadow but is kind of ugly on the hair? Well, I'm going to select it, right? And in the search bar here, I'm going to type in hidden. And there's a little box here that says hidden shadow. And then I want to set hidden in game. You remember game is when we hit the G key on our keyboard, it gets rid of all of the UI elements and icons and stuff. So hidden shadow and hidden in game. As soon as I click hidden in game, I already am in game mode. So if I hit the G key, now I have a hidden shadow. Yes, the shadow is using the chunky version. Just gotta live with it. With this example. This is the easiest way for you to get shadows quickly. There are other ways that look better, or using a post-production way would be a lot better, but you know, this took 5-10 minutes to show you. Questions about that? Yes.
So if your key like isn't clean, that will come through another shadow.
I mean, if it has noise in the background? Yeah. 100%. Why is your key not clean? Clean it up. Clean it up, dude. Yeah, well, that noise will cast shadow. It might be hard to tell. It's hard to say, but clean your key. There you go. Shadow. Any other general Unreal questions that aren't going to take too long? Yeah. Sure. You'd have to go into the material and start playing around with like all of the mathematics of how that graphic is interpreted. You could put blur on it. You could change the color of it. You could. It doesn't have. Unreal doesn't have matting controls, M-A-T-T-E, matte controls, like a proper compositing software would, right? So you're never going to have that much flexibility. If I wanted to blur it, I could blur it, I think, just by making the texture blurry. But yeah, no, you don't have that much control, unfortunately, at least with this method. Any other questions? And this is a dynamic shadow, so if I change my light and the time of day, shadows get really long, get really short. If you have somebody standing on the floor, it's just really hard to make that look good. Even in proper post-production software, you're just going to have to spend time finessing and really thinking about shadows. If you look at a shadow, like it fades out. It has a gradation to it as it fades out, right? It's not one solid tone from foot to top of the person's head. It just takes a lot of work to make a good-looking shadow. We can talk about shadows a little bit more when we get into our pure compositing class in After Effects. Other questions?